Good morning, my name is Luisa Camacho Martínez, and today I will be talking about the research that I did about the dominant and recessive traits of humans. Well, the first thing I want to mention is that the world of genetics was discovered by Gregor Johann Mendel, who is also known as the father of genetics. Now, he experimented with peas, mixing yellow seeds with green seeds, and he saw the union of day. And after a while, he noticed that two types of very characteristic traits were produced, which he called recessive traits and dominant traits. Now, by searching in the internet and with the help of my notes from school, I could find that a dominant trait is the one that is most visible or most marked in people. So let's take as an example my uncle, who has black hair, a dominant trait. The chances that his child will come out with black hair are more likely since dark colors are part of the dominant genes. Now, a recessive trait is the one that is overshadowed by the dominant gene. But that doesn't mean that this trait will disappear. I mean, it may not appear in you, but maybe it could appear in your future generations. And after doing a lot of research about the dominant and recessive traits in humans, I was able to find that there were several types of this. For example, color blindness, a recessive trait in which men are more likely to inherit it, unlike women. Then I found the one with dark eyes, who are dominant traits because of the fact that dark colors are part of the dominant genes. And therefore, from here I could get the one with light eyes, that unlike dark eyes, light eyes are recessive traits. Now, I also found traits such as widow's beak, which was dominant, baldness, which is a recessive and very common in males, as well as I found the ability to curl the U-shaped tongue, which was considered a dominant trait, or also the dimple in the chin, which was also a dominant trait. Albanese, I could identify it as a recessive trait since both parents must be carriers of it. Or the attached love, which I found very common even being a recessive gene since my mom and I have it. And also I investigate the recessive trait of the poinetto thumb, in which only some people have the ability to finger all the way back. And finally I found freckles, who are dominant, of course, since they are related to melanin. Now, in the results of my observations, it can be seen that most of my family have recessive traits. I mean, not all have the same traits, but a lot of us have recessive traits. For example, me and my mom had attached love, just like me and my dad have color blindness. In some cases, it varies. For example, my brother, my father, and my mother have dominant traits, such as dark eyes, while my cousin and I have clear eyes. So I assume that the remaining traits, as I had previously said, stay with my parents, but they were not reflected in them. It was not until I was born that they were reflected. And in the same way, we can observe that my brother and my cousin have a recessive trait called poinetto thumb, in which they can bend their thumb back. And my conclusion was that, as I already mentioned in my research, it is through genetics that a human being, in a certain way, receives his physical and internal traits. I mean, if we think about it, all the information that is stored in the chromosomes, in those tiny units known as genes, those traits are transmitted from generation to generation, making us similar to each other within the family, but also, at the same time, making us unique and special. And it was thanks to this research that I was able to expand my knowledge about the dominant and recessive traits in human beings. Since before I only thought that there were physical traits, but now I know that the traits go beyond the physical, using, for example, color blindness. I emphasize the studying of the genetics nowadays because it can be very beneficial since we currently already have genetic manipulation, something that is really impressive to me. That is why I say that we must continue advancing, learning about life, about genetics, and therefore, in the future, we will be able to cure diseases or physical traits that we no longer want to exist, such as color blindness. And that will be the end of my video. Thanks for the attention.